Welcome back to another session here at our Summer for Success series. Today we have a very special guest speaker, Ashley Zendejas. Ashley has been with National University for 2 years. She started as a center assistant and then transferred to a student finance advisor. She graduated with associates in economics from Grossmont College and is finishing her bachelor's in business administration with National University. She's worked out at the Kearney Mesa campus that houses the Masters in Counseling Psychology, Public Health, and Healthcare Administration. Welcome, Ashley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to be talking today about financial aid, pretty much giving a breakdown of how it works. There is going to be a financial aid guide that's available on our National University website that has further information, but I'm going to go ahead and touch base on the main points for financial aid. So to start, what is financial aid? Financial aid is funding from the government that helps you with tuition and other educational costs. Financial aid is kind of like the umbrella term for grants and loans. They both fall under financial aid. Grants would be money that you are awarded that does not have to be repaid, whereas loans is money that you're borrowing that does have to be repaid with interest once you have graduated or are no longer in attendance. So how to apply for financial aid. You want to start off by completing a FAFSA application by going to the studentaid.gov website. You do want to complete the 2020-2021 FAFSA application if you're going to be taking courses between July 1st of 2020 to June 30th of 2021. It is going to be asking you for your 2018 tax information, so you do want to make sure to have that handy and completed when you do complete the FAFSA application. You also want to make sure to include our school code to ensure that National University receives your application once that has been completed. So when you're completing the FAFSA application, it's going to ask you a series of questions, one of them being your dependency. If you can answer no to all of the following questions, you are considered a dependent. Being a dependent, you will need to provide parent information, so you want to make sure to have that with you as well. If you can answer yes to at least one of these questions, you are considered an independent, and the following questions will be based off of these answers. So when you're completing the FAFSA application, something you want to keep in mind is to make sure to put your legal name on the FAFSA application. You don't want to include any abbreviations, no nicknames. You want to have legal information put on there because otherwise it won't link with your National University file. Depending on the kind of information that you provide on your FAFSA, it won't link to your file and we won't be able to process you then. So you want to make sure you have the correct information there. You also want to put your current marital status at the time of the application. So as you're completing it, what's your marital status at that time? If it happens to change at a later date, you can always reach out to us and see how it's going to affect you, if there's any further documentation that we would need from you, but we would let you know. So you want to do it as it is at that time. You also want to have your taxes filed for the 2020-2021 application. Like I said, you want to have your 2018 taxes completed. And you also want to make sure you're not in default status with any previous student loans that you have already received, if any. If you do find yourself that you are in default status, you do want to resolve it with your lender. Being in default status, you are not eligible for financial aid. So to get that resolved, you can find your loan servicer at the same student aid website with the FAFSA application. Okay, so once we have the FAFSA application completed, you're going to receive a confirmation email from them, and then that application gets sent to National University to begin the processing within our processing department. So upon processing review, you may be requested to submit further documentation depending on the information that you provided on the FAFSA application. If so, these items are going to be generated on your checklist through your Source Student Portal. You will be notified where to find these and what documents are needed if this is the case. If no documents are required, then it'll continue on to the review process. I do just want to mention that to be processed for financial aid, you do have to complete all documents on your checklist. Also, you want to complete any outstanding documents for your degree evaluation, whether that be submitting any official transcripts or anything that your advisor is requesting of you, as well as completing a schedule on file. You do need to have all that before we can begin the financial aid review. And this image below is just an example of what the checklist may look like if you are requested some further documentation. Okay, so the types of awards that you can receive, we have grants. So for under grants, we have Pell Grant. You can receive up to $6,345 per year. It is dependent on your EFC, which is your expected family contribution. Your expected family contribution is a figure that is calculated by the FAFSA application. So that depending on the type of information that you provided, they calculate what your income is, any assets, benefits, anything like that, and they determine what your EFC is, and we use that to determine how much Pell Grant you may be eligible for. We also have the Cal Grant. The Cal Grant is one that has a strict deadline of March 2nd to complete the FAFSA application, as well as a GPA verification. Now, you can receive up to $12,000 per year, but if you do not apply by that March 2nd deadline, you wouldn't be eligible for financial aid for the Cal Grant. Funding does begin October of 2021, but you will be notified by about May or June whether you have been granted the Cal Grant. The Teach Grant is also another grant that you can receive up to $4,000 per year. It's for students that are in an educational program pursuing, whether it be an undergraduate or graduate, who intend to teach at a public or a secondary school that serves low-income families. It does have a condition of completing 4 years of service at a low-income school within 8 years after you graduate. In the case that those 4 years of service are not completed, then the grant goes back and turns into a loan and accrues the interest from the start. So you do want to keep in mind that condition if the Teach Grant is something that you are interested in. Now for federal loans, we have quite a few. The two main ones are the subsidized and the unsubsidized. Now, the subsidized has an interest rate at 2.75%, and it has a 6-month grace period where the interest rate is not accruing until after those 6 months are completed. The unsubsidized has an interest rate at 4.3%, but that interest rate is accruing right off the bat as soon as you take that loan out while you're in school. Now, this chart off to the right, it does show a brief summary of what you may be eligible for depending on your student status, which is listed on the left-hand column. And then the following columns are the range that you can receive depending on what type of loan you're looking at, as well as if you're a dependent or an independent student. The Parent Plus loan has an interest rate at 5.3%. This one is credit-based, and it's intended for students, undergraduate dependent students, for their parents to assist in further funding, because as you can see in the chart, a dependent student, an undergraduate student, can't receive as much as an independent student. So the Parent Plus is there to help. The Graduate Plus loan is for graduate students. It has an interest rate of 5.3%. It is also credit-based, and this is available for graduate students once they have reached the graduate limit in unsubsidized funding, which is a $20,500. If you find that you still need further assistance in tuition to cover the tuition for your program, you can seek alternative options such as alternative loans. This website, Elm Select, is a good option to have. It provides you with different lenders. They have different interest rates. They are credit-based, but it's definitely a good resource to have if you're looking for additional help. As well as the scholarships. We have scholarships listed on our website. And if you have any questions regarding the scholarships or how to apply, you can always feel free to reach out to our scholarships department. I have that number listed there below. So the financial aid guide has much more detailed information. If you have further questions regarding how it works, the financial aid guide located on our website would be able to provide that kind of information. But you can always feel free to reach back out to our department, give us a call or send us an email. We'd be happy to help. And that's it.
Awesome, thanks. I wish I had you when I was going to school. This is so helpful. So just a couple quick questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of our students ask about the ADT and the Transfers for Success Scholarship. Can you just talk briefly about how that looks on your end? I tell them, oh, it's $880 per month and things like that. But like on your end, tell me, or tell the student what that would look like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so the 880 is applied. So instead of the tuition being $1665, like a typical tuition cost for a 4.5 unit course, the tuition gets charged at 880. It shows as an indicator as a scholarship award, and it gets placed, as the tuition gets charged 2 weeks before the term starts. That's the amount that's going to be charged onto the student's account.
Right. So it's nice because it's just an indicator on their account, so they don't have to think about it or worry about it.
Correct.
It's just automatically, right?
Automatic, correct.
That caps off for 20 courses.
Correct.
Yeah. And then the transfer for success?
The transfer to success is funding for students that are transferring in with a community college. It is half off the first 2 courses in the program and full tuition for the last 2 courses in the program. And
Okay.
again, that's automatic as well.
Okay, and then can you confirm for me, because I keep hearing, both sides,
Hmm.
that the nursing program does not get any type of scholarships?
That's correct. That's one program that excludes the scholarships like the EDT,
And what about
as well as the transfer.
the
Yeah,
transfer
that.
success also? So they don't
Yes. Yeah.
qualify for either. Okay, I just wanted to
Correct.
make sure. Okay, perfect. And then last question, I was wondering, do you think, in your opinion, that COVID has impacted funding at all? Either negatively, positively, anything? Any pattern?
Um, Yeah, a little bit of both. So negatively because the processing time as well as the amount that a lot of students sometimes depend on the any remaining amount that's not needed for tuition, for personal costs. But with the tuition rates, being the same, sometimes there's not that excess amount to be refunded. So that's where it's negatively impacting a student. But there is now a CARES Act it's works similar to the Pell Grant that's available for students impacted by COVID-19. So it has the same conditions as the Pell Grant, but they have their own department. When you complete an application, they would reach out to you to see if you qualify for that additional help.
Oh, that's great. That's the first I've
Yeah,
heard of that. Awesome.
yeah,
Okay. Sorry, I just realized another question.
yeah.
Well, the FAFSA, my understanding is that you could basically apply for that anytime, year round. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So within the aid year for 2020, 2021, you can apply anytime from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 to be awarded within that aid year. Anything that follows would be awarded under the next aid year. But yeah, year round, you can complete the application.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. This has been really helpful. Did you want to
Not a
add anything
problem.
else before I said goodbye?
Just that we look forward to any students that are interested in National University, and we're here to help if they have any questions regarding financial aid. Mhm.
And then is there any kind of a phone number or email, something that if they have questions in the future, or maybe I should just have them contact me? Or is there something more direct that if they have any questions about financial aid that they can contact?
Yeah, so our email is going to be finaidinfo@nu.edu, or you can just give us a call at 858-642-8500 for questions.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, Ashley.
Not a problem.
Take care.